Thank you, Aziz. It was an excellent panel. And I'm hoping all of you are available this afternoon for our very important one-on-one networking sessions. This is where our speakers and panelists are given a table, and you are given a chance. If you sign up at Corcoran, Colonel Ed is over there, and if you sign up, you can get on the various lists of the panelists and speakers. So this is usually a very favorable to the attendees, that they get a chance to go one-on-one with our key speakers and panelists. Now, our next speaker is representing the Asian Development Bank, which, as we've heard in previous discussions during this conference, and as we move into the future of infrastructure, construction, and power transmission, and CASA 1000, and the list goes on, a critical player in this world of construction and infrastructure of all kinds. Aziz says it's not just the barracks building and the building of walls and the building of buildings, but it's sometimes a more sophisticated infrastructure development. I think all of you and those of you in the rear who are chatting, I think those of you in the rear who are chatting, I would hope that you would take your discussions elsewhere, and also you might want to sit down and listen to this presentation. The Asian Development Bank Washington representative, and this is for North America, is going to be our speaker today. But this particular, and as many of you know, the North American Representative Office is perhaps second to the headquarters in Manila in its rank importance to the Asian Development Bank. We are in transition with the representative in Kabul, Joji Takeshi, who has been there for some 3-4 years, has left. Tom Piniella is replacing him. But Craig Steffensen, who is the Washington office, but the North American representative, has spent in about 6 years in Afghanistan in the ADB residency in Afghanistan. So he is well familiar with the Afghanistan program over the years and into the future. And he is our next speaker. Craig has spent time in the Philippines. He has helped ADB to build a railroad in Thailand. And he is particularly well equipped to address the ADB present and future programs in Afghanistan. Craig, I know you're out there somewhere, but the light is in my eyes and I can't quite see. Craig, thank you for coming, and we welcome you to the 10th anniversary U.S.-Afghanistan Business Matchmaking Conference.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for inviting me here today. Thank you for your friendship, and of course, thank you for everything you do to build the Afghan-American relationship. Distinguished guest, ladies and gentlemen, I'm really honored to join you today. As you may be aware, Asian development operations in Afghanistan are focused on infrastructure development. We work in 3 sectors: transport, energy, and water and irrigation. It was then presidential advisor, now president of Afghanistan, Ashraf Ghani, who encouraged ADB in 2002 to focus on these sectors. He referred to them as the country's backbone for economic and social development. And we've stuck with them ever since. I should say that it wasn't easy for us to agree on ADB focused for only 3 sectors in Afghanistan. We thought at the time that we have comparative advantage in more than 3, but he was quite insistent that we really focus on these 3 given their importance to the economy. And what can I say except, in hindsight, he was right. And yeah, I think that this is a lesson learned for other countries that are going through what Afghanistan has been through, and that is to get all of your partners to really focus and stick with it over the longer term. Since day one, everything we've done is on budget, and I should also add that since day one, everything we've done is Afghan-driven. We have very close working relationships with the Ministry of Finance and, of course, with our main partners there in the ministries of Public Works, Energy, and Agriculture and Irrigation. We've approved $3.3 billion in grants and loans for Afghanistan. Our continuing commitment, reflected in our pledge at the 2012 Tokyo conference, is to make about $1.2 billion available during 2012 to 2016. I think this pledge will be exceeded and then some. During 2012 to 14, we have approved $900 million in grant assistance, and we expect to approve another $100 million plus before the end of this month. Because Afghanistan is a landlocked country, we view everything we do nationally in terms of what needs to be done regionally and how to connect Afghanistan with its neighbors. We do this through a program called the Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program, or CAREC. Since Afghanistan joined CAREC in 2005, CAREC has provided a strong and successful platform for transport connectivity, energy cooperation, and trade facilitation, both in terms of investments and policy coordination in Afghanistan and with its neighbors. Let me mention a few examples of some projects that are helping Afghanistan's interconnectivity. In the transport sector, as you may be aware, we've invested in 6 major regional road and rail corridors, several of which crisscross Afghanistan, including major portions of the Ring Road, the North-South Corridor, the Kabul to Jalalabad Expressway, and the Hairatan to Mazar-e-Sharif Railway. In the energy sector, we're financing regional transmission lines and distribution, including the ones that now supply electricity to Afghanistan from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan 24/7. These transmission lines and distribution systems have facilitated dramatic changes in the lives of ordinary Afghans. I remember when electricity came to Kabul, I think it was 2009, from Uzbekistan. I asked a driver that morning, what did he think? Because the night before, I know he was looking forward to having electricity for the first time in 7 years. And he said that it was the first time that he had seen his son's face at night without candlelight. And the first thing he did was give his son a book to read. And I hope that continues. We've also supported the planned Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, or TAPI natural gas pipeline as secretariat since 2002 and as transaction advisor since 2013. TAPI is a really high priority, even a flagship project that's expected to export up to 33 billion cubic meters of natural gas annually from Turkmenistan to the sub-region over the next 30 years. Last month, the 4 state gas companies of Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India established a company that will build, own, and operate the planned 1,800-kilometer pipeline, and they agreed on the establishment of the TAPI Pipeline Company, which is really a major milestone since CAREC was established in 2002. The Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan Regional Energy Project, or TUTEP, uses Afghanistan's strategic location to link energy resource-rich countries in Central Asia with energy-deficient countries in South Asia. It complements CASA 1000 and will allow Afghanistan to diversify its electricity import sources while allowing year-round thermal and seasonal hydro resources to meet Afghanistan's growing needs, with surplus resources being used to supply Pakistan and to meet Tajikistan's winter electricity needs. TUTEP is part of the CASARIM initiative, which aims to promote interregional trade in electricity between Central and South Asia. Regarding trade, CAREC's Transport and Trade Facilitation Strategy emphasizes transport and trade facilitation to achieve greater trade and greater competitiveness. Customs are high on the government's agenda to meet the twin objectives of raising revenue, to fund the government's operating expenses, and to provide continued support for Afghanistan's reconstruction and development. Afghanistan's Customs Department exchanges transit data nowadays with Pakistan through an electronic data interface, which allows its computer-to-computer exchange of business documents between Afghanistan and Pakistan. This is a phenomenal accomplishment over just the past few years. We're so impressed with what's going on that we're assessing the possibility of extending the use of this model and developing a framework for customs exchange information with all of Afghanistan's neighbors as well as within the Central Asia neighborhood to improve security and facilitate movement of people, goods, and vehicles more quickly and easily. In the private sector, ADB's assistance to Roshan Cellular Company enabled the company to rapidly expand its services. From less than 160,000 cell phone subscribers in 2004, Roshan's subscriber base today is more than 6 million across all 34 provinces. Roshan's innovative services such as telemedicine, mobile trade, and mobile money transfer have helped improve lives and livelihoods and empowered women. We've also provided critical startup support for the Afghanistan International Bank, the country's first international bank. I remember when the first ATM was installed in 2004. I thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen. ADB remains a committed partner of AIB. Finally, with respect to the Afghanistan Infrastructure Trust Fund, or AITF, this trust fund, as you know, pools donor resources to co-finance and complement ADB-assisted projects in transport and energy. It provides a mechanism for on-budget financing and alignment with government priorities and infrastructure. The AITF provides significant resources annually to improve the lives of the Afghan people. We're pleased to partner with USAID, among others, on this important undertaking, and we're very grateful for USAID's generous support and guidance over the years. I was reading ADB's country operations business plan for Afghanistan for 2015 to 2017 the other day. It was just approved by our board of directors. And for those of you who might be interested, I should note that each and every business opportunity in ADB, without exception, bar none, is listed on ADB's website. From a one-day consultancy to a $500 million road project, it's all on our website. We're transparent, and everyone has a right to bid on these things. Perhaps more important, I want you to know that ADB is scaling up our assistance to Afghanistan. We've gone from about $250, $300 million a year in support for the past 12 years to a program plan, or a planned program, of about $500 million a year over the next 3 years. AITF will be an important source of funding for this expanded program. Let me close by saying that ADB is committed to staying the course in Afghanistan. We will remain engaged in your national development efforts. We believe regional economic cooperation and collaboration with development partners are important means to achieve your development objectives. We look forward to a positive outcome of this conference and to a peaceful and more prosperous future for the people of Afghanistan. And I just want to say one more thing before I wrap up, and that is, when I look back at the past 13 years in Afghanistan, my first visit was on January 4th, 2002. And I remember staying in this god-awful little guest house. I actually stayed in a closet because there was nowhere else to sleep. And it was winter, and it was really cold, and the only thing to keep me warm was a toaster. And I remember going to meetings in one government ministry after the next and meeting with the new ministers. And, you know, many of these offices then, they didn't have windows, and it was winter. And they didn't have electricity or copy machines or telephones, email. I could go on and on. Most didn't have pencil and paper. And I remember sitting in these meetings, and we were kind of looking at each other saying, well, now what do we do? And, you know, you can say what you want about Afghanistan today, but the transformation that's taken place within the government's ability, its capacity to get things done, you know, with people like you who are sitting in those seats that didn't exist then, I just think that there's been a phenomenal accomplishment in a very short period of time. And, you know, maybe because of the benefit I've had working in a few other countries and seeing how quickly things have changed elsewhere, well, Afghanistan beats them all by a mile. You're way ahead of the pack, and if you can just keep this momentum going, you know, keep working hard and keep believing that one day it's going to pay off the way all of you hope and expect. I'm a believer. I always have been. I always will be. And if there's anything ADB can do to help you with your efforts, please let me know. Thanks.
Knocked it out of the park, Steve. Thank you, Craig. And I think you can all tell that Afghanistan has a true friend at the Asian Development Bank, and he's certainly an up-and-coming executive there, and he will speak on the behalf of Afghanistan when it's necessary, that's for sure. I'd like to welcome to the dais now the ICT, the Information and Communications Technology panel. This is an area of the Afghan economy which has grown by leaps and bounds very quickly in terms of its outreach to the average Afghan citizen, its capacity to serve Afghan business and industry. Those of you who have phones and internet know that this industry has been extremely strong on your behalf. And AACC has taken a great interest in this industry as well. Last June, we had a panel at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel here in Washington. Minister Sangin came in for that. It was a seminar, a full-day seminar on Afghanistan as hub, the role of ICT, Information and Communications Technology. The fact is that it's a lot less expensive. The security issues are not as great. It is a kind of like a bloodstream type of industry to the body of greater industrial presence in Afghanistan. And we had tremendous interest on the part of U.S. companies and U.S. interests in this field.